Everything looked perfect this month, but inside I was unraveling. April was interesting. I feel like I'm coming out of a very stormy month. On the outside, everything was beautiful. I'm in a loving, committed relationship, something that I've dreamed of for a long time to have. My partner and I are also starting to talk about our future together, looking at finding a home for the both of us. I'm really enjoying my new workplace. I have really wonderful colleagues, and I find my work meaningful, and I feel I make meaningful, impactful contributions. And outside, it was spring, so all the flowers were blooming and the cherry blossoms were falling, and that's honestly one of my favorite things to witness in nature. However, on the inside, I felt like all of my negativities were coming up. It's been something that I've been working on for such a long time. I think it's been around for as long as I feel like I have memory. And I feel in my early 20s, I started just to notice how loud it was, and that the internal self-talk was really, really, really mean. It felt like it barely stopped, and mostly what it played was this constant tape or some version of "you're not good enough." That was all I heard, that I wasn't good enough and I'm not enough. And I really felt and feel like sometimes it dictates my perspective. Everywhere I turned, I was looking for some sort of external validation to feel okay, to feel safe, to feel good. And when I got it, it did give me a little bit of a high. I feel like it was able to shut down that internal self-talk, however short or fleeting that moment is. And I seeked it out. I seeked praise from others. I seeked approval from others, from people I know, from strangers. And I felt like I really needed that, because that was how I soothed myself. And especially when there's that constant loop of self-doubt playing and this attack of myself in the background. And I have come a really long way since, my early 20s or my teenage year evens, but sometimes these voices still, take over all the learning that I've practiced in the last decade. And I felt like April, it was a month where the voice was really strong. And I think it was strong because of all of the uncertainty happening in my life, or just happening, period, on this planet right now. In some ways, it's like I finally found this place where I feel more comfortable in my life, like my relationship and my job. But it's like once I'm there, I'm also afraid of what's next. So, as I look into the future, thinking about starting this next chapter of my life, maybe building a home, maybe starting a family one day, and honestly, all of that newness and uncertainty, I think, freaked me out. And I know that internal self-doubt loop gets really, really loud when there is essentially any kind of uncertainty. And the bigger the changes, the bigger the impact of it, the more scared I can get. And yeah, I spiraled this month when I was thinking about how my life might be changing in really, really big ways. And I felt, for some parts of this month, I was just really scared of aging. I was scared of the changes that I feel in my body. I'm not able to move as easily as I was in my 20s. And then I think the idea of having a child, I also feel like that whole experience just speeds up time, and I felt like, oh my god, I'm basically just going to, as I'm continuing to live, I'm essentially just moving closer and closer to death. And of course that is like a big fear. I think it's a pretty common fear for humans. And yeah, I was afraid of the future, of how financial stability might look. I have steady paying job, and I have saved money, but it's always the unknown of the future that kind of makes me spin. And I was also contemplating, like, what would it be like to be a mother? What if I really didn't like it? And I realized the challenges that it will come with, me having to do my best to just make decisions on behalf of another human, and they're really young. It's my responsibility to help guide them at that age. So I feel like with someone who isn't the best at dealing with uncertainty, definitely can put a lot of stress on me. So I think all of these things, and when I'm thinking about moving, I'm also thinking, where do I want to move? Do I want to live, closer to the city? Do I want to live a little bit more rural? And my mind was just spinning, and I couldn't stop it, because it does what it does when there's uncertainty. It tries to fill in the gaps, and it wants information. And when I don't get it, I feel my voices kind of turn inwards, of just being like, it's not going to go well, and you're not good enough, you're not a good person, and all of that. And yeah, I feel like I was becoming really sensitive, to comments from other people. I would take things really personally, and it became really hard to have good and open communication with me. And I feel like it's tiring. It's really exhausting to live with this voice. And I do feel, glad that in some ways I am in a space, that I can still create a space where I can see it and acknowledge all of this happening, and hopefully create a little bit of distance and space from that, so I'm not completely sucked in. But it's a dance, just like the changing of the seasons. Everything's a bit of weaving in and out. And yeah, in this moment, there's moments I know who I am, and then there's moments where I forget, and I get sucked back into that old habit loop of fear. All the fears and all the lies that we all get caught up in, thinking that we have to prove ourselves in some ways, of our worth, when that just isn't truth. When that just isn't true. And the truth is that, well, we have always all been worthy, all of us. And I mean that. All beings, no matter what, have unconditional worth. And I hope that this video can be a reminder to myself, that life is a bit of a paradox. Like, there's good, there's bad, there's ups and downs, and the key is to just be in it and go with it, not try to hold on too hard to anything, and let myself be lost in the times that I am lost, not hold myself to such high standards, and to also honor these moments, these more tender moments when I am doubting myself and being hard on myself, and to also just allow that to be what it is, the self-compassion I want to extend to myself. And I want to see myself in my truth, and honor myself in this sharing. And I just want to remind myself that, like the blossoms, I'm learning that even in the falling, there is grace. Thank you for listening.